Welcome to Big Blend Radio with travel writer Linda Kissam, the food, wine, and shopping diva. Welcome, everybody. You know, Diva Linda, the food, wine, and shopping diva, Linda Kissam is her actual name. Of course, is here every first Saturday because she can't have it on the second, third, or fourth Saturday. She must be first. She really finds good things in the world. When we laugh about her being the diva, it's about finding good things, quality. And she had a quality experience at Friday afternoon in Wallingford, Washington. This is right within Seattle, and we're going to have Friday Elliott on the show. I encourage you to go to the website, fridaytea.com. But first, I'm going to bring Diva Linda on to give us a little insight of why she decided Friday needs to come on the show. And I think I know why, because we're going to be talking about tea, but not just any tea. We're going to talk about one of my favorite things, chai, and how to create your own signature Masala house chai, which I think is exciting because you get to really understand about taste, figure out who you are, right? Diva Linda, welcome back. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. I'm in Seattle now, and the boat is in port. We're in actually Seattle, in downtown, the downtown area near Magnolia. But so when I come here to Washington for the summer, I like to try different things and see different things. And of course, if you've been following me, you know that tea and wine or chocolate are my favorite. One of my favorite pickles are one of my favorite things.
Salsa.
And I went last year in the fall to the Northwest Tea Festival, and this is where I found hundreds of not hundreds, probably 100 different tea vendors, and one of those was Friday afternoon. And it was tea shop. It's a tea shop, and it's the tea that I tasted there was quite wonderful. And the people that served me were wonderful, and we had a little bit of a talk and so forth. And so I started following them, and then I noticed they do classes. They do virtual classes, and so I took one of those when I was in Arizona. But then when I came back here, I decided I would take a chai class because I don't know very much about it. And now I know a lot about it because the class was fabulous. And I want to let you know that if you're in Seattle, just as important as it is to go to the Pike Place Market, is as important to take a tea class. It's just traditional Seattle. That is what you do. And this particular tea class is in Wallingford, which is kind of just funky all by itself. And this tea shop is really nice. And the class was affordable and lovely. And I know we'll talk more about it, but that's how I came to this class. And this is how I came to understand chai.
Well, welcome, Friday. How are you?
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Lisa and Linda. It's good to see you again.
This is so cool. I know she was on the show earlier this year, Linda, talking about you and doing the virtual class. But I, just to give everyone a little background, tell us what got you into the world of tea and then opening up your own tea shop.
Sure. Well, it's a funny story. I was actually raised by kind of, crunchy granola, wheatgrass drinking hippies on a commune in California. My grandparents were herbalists, and my parents met in Star Trek Club. And so, I sort of over the course of my life kind of evolved my interest in a direction that now I make tea for nerds. That's what I do. That's my vocation. So I've spent the last 20 years making tea, and I have a great, great passion for tea myself personally. It's one of those beverages and plants and cultures really globally that you can never learn everything about, which is my favorite thing in the world. I love having an interest that is so based in connection and exploration, and it's truly endless. It's a bottomless cup, really. The world of tea is, all over the world, people drink their tea differently, and they have different stories and different meanings attached to it, and use it to connect with one another. That's kind of the only truly global factor of tea, is the connection point. And I think that's just so beautiful. And, being basically a human Care Bear myself, a beverage that is inherently designed to connect people despite their culture, their background, everything else, I think it's just so wonderful. So yeah, I just fell in love with tea and decided to learn everything about it, and I will never be able to. So I'm able to
Ah,
devote my entire life to it comfortably.
that's nice. And now you have a shop, so you sell tea and then do
Yes.
classes.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, we do both wholesale and retail at our tea house,
Mm.
so we're able to really share our tea very widely.
Do
We've
you
got our
serve?
in we
Do you?
do, we do. Yeah,
Okay.
it's very casual. Think like coffee shop style, right? We have French presses. People come in. We've got just a few seats. It's sort of a combination retail store and tasting room. So it's not a full service, tea trays at the table. We don't have a kitchen, but we carry little, individual baked goods from local independent bakers. So
Cool.
we do have really lovely little pairings. But it's
Oh,
quite casual. I find when people come in expecting a full English tea, they're
Oh,
disappointed. But if they come in expecting
uh-oh, Linda.
something relaxed, good tea, good company, then we have a good time. We have a great time. It's just a matter of not expecting something that is not exactly what we do.
I think that's a happy accident for folks that are just
Mm,
maybe walking down the street and go, oh, let's have some tea. And then we're going to learn a
mhm.
whole bunch more. Do you travel at all for your tea education?
Not at this time. I have
Mm.
in past. At this time, I have a senior who's just graduated high school a few days ago. I have an almost 2-year-old. I have a
Okay.
whole warehouse for e-commerce. I have the cafe. So it's a lot. I'm pretty geographically grounded at the moment. I sure have high hopes of getting back into traveling extensively in a few years once the little one is a little bit bigger. And I've got, open invitations at all times to all the farms that we work with. Farmers are the friendliest people,
They're cool.
truly. And it's great. And one of the benefits of going farm direct and doing all of our own importing is we're not going through that middleman importer. So we do have a very personal relationship with all of our farmers. Like we send each other pictures of our kids, we tell each other about our day. I have, like I said, a standing invitation to go stay on any given number of tea farms on any continent at any time.
Well,
It's just a
maybe
matter of
Linda will
getting
do it for
away.
you. Linda,
There
you'll
we
go.
go, Linda. Yes,
She's going to
excellent.
have
Give
to
my
get
regards.
those. She's going to need those farmer boots. That's what's going to have
Hmm.
to happen, right?
Oh yeah.
With bling. Diva Linda, you need the bling for the boots
Hmm.
to go
I
on the
do.
farm.
I
The
do. I do.
rhinestone mud boots.
Which I
Exactly.
have. Yeah. Bring it along. It's
Yeah.
good. Yes. I
So
like that.
how did it differ for you, Linda, doing the course in person versus virtual? Because the virtual one you loved. So I know you loved both experiences. But the first one you were learning about teas from China, and this one you now went into chai, which we should even talk about what chai is, but this was masala chai, which making your own masala, that's a whole other thing too. So this is fascinating to me. But how was the actual in person versus virtual?
I like both actually. They both have their pluses and they both have their negatives, and not icky negatives, just the fact that Friday sends tea to you at your home and you can taste along, just sort of the same as being there when you take her tips, like using a French press rather than doing tea in the original style, like you might steep it in a teapot. So I've been doing that since I took this class, and I really like it. I really think that the tea press is the way to go. You don't bruise the loose leaf tea. It doesn't get all icky all over the place with floating stuff. So either one is fine. And I love both. I don't know that I have a preference other than it was fun to get off the boat. It's always fun to get off the boat. It was fun to get off the boat and be there. Now, if I lived in Seattle, I probably would full time. I'd probably be there all the time. But either one just depends on what you're doing. So when I leave, I'll do another virtual class because I think they were just wonderful. And when I'm here, I'll do an in-person class. Either one is fine. The difference is with other classes that I've taken is that the samples were sent to me at home and I could follow along in
Mm.
a very interactive format, just like it is when you go to the shop.
That's
The
awesome.
only difference is you can't buy as much right
Oh,
then and
okay.
there.
Here comes. That's the negative. But I want to say this too. But then you can buy on. Can people buy online?
Oh,
Friday?
yes. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. We
okay.
ship
Well, then
globally. Yeah.
that solves that. But I want people to know that in our show, our episode notes, the show description, take a look. We have links to Linda's article about her in-person experience and also the past article and interview she did about the virtual experience. So people can, get in touch with that. But this is cool to have Friday here this time. This is awesome. So, but tell us a little bit about what chai is.
Yeah,
It's my favorite.
absolutely.
It's my
Yeah.
favorite.
Yeah. So the word chai just means tea. The word chai only means tea, right? So when you're talking about the difference between chai and masala chai, right?
Mm.
What we think of in America as chai really is masala chai. That's what it is. The word masala just means spices. So it just means a spiced tea. And the really wonderful thing about chai specifically among all other types of tea is that this is a beverage that every household has kind of their own version. And the intention there is to have something that speaks of your home culture, your values, what your home should look like and smell like and feel like and taste like. It's the impression of a sense of home that you then extend to other people. So when someone comes into your space, you can pour them a cup of chai, and that flavor and the aroma and the texture of it says, you are welcome here, and that's what that looks like in my family. So the point of this class, we did a DIY your own house chai. So the point of this class was, what does home look like and feel like and smell like and taste like to you? What would you want to express to people who are entering your space as a welcome? What does that taste like? And I think that's just so beautiful. All these regions that make chai, which is widely throughout the Himalayas, but then also into the Middle East, and we also see chai extending all the way to North and East Africa, right? And we see these chais all over the world, and they have different aspects to them, of course, different local ingredients or different brewing methods, and they're all chai. And that's so cool that it's not like a closed and super specific practice, that by design, chai is for sharing and evolving and for every household to have their own way to express it. So that's really what we focused on in this class. Was the bare basic rule set is there must be cardamom. There has to be cardamom. That is a rule. That is a rule. Like every Earl Grey has to have bergamot oil. Every chai has to have cardamom. And that's a rule. And, I'm sure some households even would disagree. Oh, no, we never did it that way in my house. Maybe, but, as a tea professional, that's what I've been taught throughout my career. That is the general rule. There's always exceptions in tea, always. But the rule is, cardamom. And then the other rule is it should speak to your household hospitality sense. So it was really interesting to see how everyone in the class had very different concepts of flavor profiles they would want to share with people entering their space. And not a single person put cinnamon in their tea this time, which is such a what you think of when you think of chai.
What
Not
about
a
cloves?
single. No, maybe we had one with clove, maybe, but no cinnamon was the one that really struck me. I thought was so fascinating, because imagining a chai without cinnamon was shocking to me personally. It wouldn't occur to me to make a chai without cinnamon, but no one in the class did. But there were, fruitier chais or more floral chais and all this, and they were all so different. And that's the real beauty of chai, and that's the spirit of chai. And I mean, gosh, Linda, your chai was so exciting and so specifically you. It was wonderful.
Well, see, she's a diva. She made the diva chai.
That's true.
Yeah.
Did you name your chai?
Summer Kind, Kind, and it was a summer blend, and it had thankfully Friday helped me. I tried to explain to her what I wanted, which is sort of a summer uplifting kind of comfort tea. So mine had vanilla, peach. Peach was a big ingredient for me because I love fruit of any kind. Anything I eat, I'd have to have fruit in it. And it had cardamom, and I think that was it. There was only like 3 or 4 ingredients, and
black tea,
lemon,
and Darjeeling tea. Yeah, so with that,
and
of
lemon,
course, as a base, and it came out beautiful. Oh my gosh, it was just exactly what we spritzed in there. We spritzed something that was
I think it might have been the vanilla, or did you do glitter in yours? Because I know we had a
no.
lot of fun with edible glitter in some
Oh,
of them.
you
I
didn't
don't
do the
think.
glitter? Are you
Hey,
kidding me?
next time I'm putting, oh my
No.
goodness, I didn't know. I was so focused on getting that peach flavor in there.
Mhm.
And I
Oh,
Mhm.
really didn't understand how you blended it, and you helped show me how you layered it. And then
Mhm.
once I figured it out and I tasted it, I was able to go back, which is very good because you can go back and fill your pouch up with
Mhm.
the blend. Just
oh.
keep blending it. And
Mhm.
so I think if the class was in fall, I might have added cinnamon and had a different
Mm.
take on it, because this summer I wanted a summer blend. But it was fun, fun, fun. I learned so much, and you have so much information in your head. It's just unbelievable.
Mm.
And are
Sure
able
do.
Oh.
to, you do, and you are able to give that to your students. I didn't see anybody going, what is she talking about? Or whispering, what did she say? I think we all got it. It was not too much information because we were all really excited about understanding how to blend this stuff. And but I like the scientific rules that you gave us, and I like the fact that you showed what happens when you put these ingredients together,
Mhm.
and what happens to the brewing. That's interesting. If
Mhm.
you put the wrong ingredients together, it's not gonna blend that well, and the because some ingredients need just a little bit of hot water and
Mhm.
other ones need more, and so you have to be very, very careful.
Oh.
You have to
Yeah.
be very
You're talking
careful.
about relative density of
Yes.
ingredients and volatile aromatic oils. Yeah.
Oh, wow. This is
Oh
getting
yeah.
fun. I feel like we're going to
Yeah.
explode. I
But it
love
makes
that.
sense. Once it's explained to you and you can see it on a piece of paper, you can
Mhm.
review it, and then you're hearing what she's saying, and then you get to get up from the table
Mhm.
and you go over to where all the ingredients are. Can you imagine? All the and she I don't know how many ingredients, and then you have stuff in the back too. So I mean
Thousands.
it was, you could really lose yourself. But I was specific about what I wanted, and you helped me, and it was
Mhm.
wonderful. But you take this class and you get to do your own blend. You take it home. I have my daily. I love it.
Good.
But also you have all these wonderful combinations already made. They're already in packages. I got quite a good bump on my social media showing your black cat blends.
Oh, I love that
Ooh.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about why it's black cat, and
Yes.
yeah, as compared to, you have lots and lots of different blends, but you have a black cat
Yeah.
line. What is that all
Yeah.
about?
Well, the Black Cat is actually one tea. It's a part of the Magical Girls collection.
Yeah, okay.
Ooh.
So, yeah, Black Cat is the name of the blend. It goes alongside Tuxedo Prince, Moon Princess, and these are all Sailor Moon inspired teas. So, like I said, my parents were raised me in Star Trek, and I very much make tea for nerds. That's what we're famous for, is making tea for nerds. A lot of what we do is Comic-Con, boothing and things like that. We work a lot with Dungeons and Dragons, like the company making tea to go with their releases and things. And
Cool.
so it's really fun. It's a lot of fun. So we specialize in making tea that tastes like things that people are passionate about. And Sailor Moon, personally, when I was a tween, Sailor Moon, 4 p.m., Cartoon Network every day after school. I love it. I love it. So when I started making these nerdy teas, Sailor Moon felt so obvious to me. And one of her sidekicks is a cat named Luna, who's a black cat who is, from outer space and is kind of the research and sort of guidance, the what's the word I'm looking for here? The consultant for the team of Magical Girls. And so the way that I craft nerdy tea is in itself involves neuroscience. There is actual chemistry going on in my brain that informs how I make tea for nerds. This is going to be such a strange one to hear, but This is what I do. So I have what's called lexical gustatory synesthesia, which means that my neurons are actually cross-wired in a way that I do literally taste words and ideas and feelings. And I have been
Sweet.
like this since birth. I didn't know till I was 17 that not everyone tastes words. I just thought this is my normal, you know? And so when I make a tea that's inspired by something like this cat from Sailor Moon, this is literally what I actually taste in my mouth when I'm engaging with that material.
Oh, so like when
So
someone sees colors, there's the people who see the
yes,
colors and they
yes, with
feel
music.
colors. Of course, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, yeah,
cool.
exactly. It's like that. Synesthesia has a ton of different subtypes. It's just a matter of which senses are crosswired. So, like, I also have what's called audio tactile synesthesia, which means I feel sound as tactile sensations that are very specific in different parts of my body. Um, and so, you know, it's just a whole other way of perceiving things. So, what I've done with my superpower is people come into the shop and I can taste how they're feeling and then taste what tea is the correct pairing for how they're feeling at that moment. And people come in, they say, "Oh, it's like witchcraft," you know? Yeah, yeah, sure, yeah,
So if
absolutely.
you're gonna make
So
a
I can
tea
give
for the
them
movie
exactly what they need.
Ghostbusters, you're gonna go beyond
Yes,
marshmallow.
yes, exactly, beyond marshmallow. And you know, marshmallow didn't even occur to me. Of course, marshmallow, but I'm thinking ectoplasm. Right?
Oh, so
I'm thinking the fear factor and the camp like comedy factor at the same time, that balance of like kind of freaky, slimy,
yeah,
anxiety
that's it's
inducing
gonna be the
flavor and texture
texture.
and like fun, playful. Yeah. So
Gunpowder.
I'm already thinking like slippery elm bark. Yes, I like gunpowder,
Oh,
but maybe even something greener, like a gyokuro or
yeah.
something like that. You know, something really, or like a sencha,
Marshmallow goes
something
with
very green.
Buffy and the Vampire. That's marshmallow.
It does, or cotton candy or something.
Now,
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about what you might serve on the solstice, which is coming up, I think, on
Yes,
Thursday.
it is coming up. And we actually have a witches social every month that falls on the third Thursday. And this month, you know, it happens to fall on the solstice. Sometimes it happens to fall on the full moon, whatever, you know, it's really nice.
Ooh,
We call it tea coven. And
ooh.
it's a non-denominational witches social. So whatever, you know, kind of witchy practices a person, you know, prescribes to, cool. It's fine. You just come and like, you know, people bring their tarot cards, so they bring a plant or a crystal they've just got. And this week is the solstice. And we actually did a blending activity last solstice that I think we'll do again this year, where we said, you know, bring your sunshiniest, most floral energy. Because the solstice is a celebration of, you know, the sun at its absolute most, right? And it's when everything is flowers and fruits, and it's very much it is a kind of fertility festival, but it's a very specific fertility festival that is all about flowers and fruits and summertime kind of energy and that sun, that bright bold sunshine. And so what we did last year was we brought out all of the flowers that we had at the shop and all the white tea and kind of the glowier tasting things, and we said, let's all, you know, make ourselves a solstice tea. And we just did. So we had a gathering of 6 or 8 witches just having fun and putting together a solstice tea, and then we brewed them all up and we tasted them. So it was almost like a little blending workshop, except there was no teaching
Cauldron.
aspect. It was, yeah, it was just a cauldron of ideas, really. So typically people will, you know, bring in little snacks to share, and we just hang out and enjoy each other's company, and you know, talk about what wishes we have for the second half of the year here, and you know, how we can support each other in being our sunshiniest selves. So we are actually having a little event.
I love that. So you do this every full moon. So fall, I know we're in summer, but fall for people looking ahead. Do you do, fall equinox has got to be pretty cool.
It is absolutely. So it's actually every third Thursday. It typically falls right around a full moon, which is very convenient. But on our calendar, it's every third Thursday every month. And we just kind of look at, you know, if it is a solstice or an equinox, then we'll do something festive, kind of related. Arts and crafts projects are really popular. Like in the springtime, we'll plant flowers, you know, and send everyone home with
Oh,
like little flower pots. Around the fall equinox, those are harvest festivals, right? So we'll like everyone bake something to bring in, and we'll have like a bake baked good exchange, things like that. And if it's not an equinox or a solstice, then it's typically, what zodiac sign is just coming into season. Like tomorrow will also be the first day of Cancer season, right? As we leave Gemini. And so sometimes it'll be like, well, what's Cancer energy about? It's kind of the, really big feelings, sort of mom friend, emotional support member of the zodiac, so maybe we all talk about our feelings a lot that day.
Ooh.
I don't know. Yeah.
Diva
It's
Linda,
it's fun.
I want to see if you're going to be able to go to any of the fall events on your way back to Arizona.
Friday and I were talking just briefly that she may do a class that has healing herbs and things like that, but it involves the witches as well, or it has a witch name or something. And I thought that was fascinating.
I want to
She
go.
does not very often, but I think that would be for me. I think I would very much like to attend that. So I hope that comes in the fall before I leave. I leave it in right around October 1st. So anyway, but whatever class she has going, and now that I find out that they're on third Thursdays, and I know that you have other classes like on Sunday. Is it Sundays?
Yeah, it's not a class. It's a gathering. It's just a social.
An immune.
Yeah.
If you're immune sensitive, you can wear your mask. Masks are encouraged.
Every Sunday we do still require masks because that's the time that we've reserved the space, to be protected for our immune compromised customers. And that's something that they've asked us for, and they really appreciate us maintaining for them. The rest of the time, it's optional. And we find that our customer base does still prefer to mask, and that's great. That's fine. But Sunday is the day that we do insist upon it still for the protection specifically of our compromised neighbors, so they know what they're walking into, and they know, that they're being considered and looked after. But that is the day that we have our craft and chat, our every Sunday afternoon craft gathering where people bring their knitting or their painting or their coloring books or whatever. And it just so happens that a large number of the craft and chat regular group are also amongst the immune compromised set. And so
that's a way for them
up.
to get out. Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly. And I wanted to ask about that in regards to tea and wellness, because tea to me has been a huge part of wellness journeys, not just for me, but for a lot of people I know. Even Ayurvedic teas, herbal teas. It helped me stop smoking many moons again. I don't know how many decades. I don't want to age myself too much, but it's been a long time. Thank goodness. But tea helped me do it because it kind of detoxed my body in a very gentle way. And I wasn't allowed to see my friends for a few weeks. And I was a little crabby. Then Nancy would be like, go to chamomile now. Because you're getting crabby. You don't want that. So can you touch on that? Do you ever do those kinds of classes?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Actually, the class Linda was talking about, the witchcraft herbalism class we did, it was back on St. Patrick's Day, which my family on my father's side is all very, very Irish. Very Irish, and they're from like a long line of like druidic pagans, right? So herbalist, healer, Irish types. And so every year when I was growing up, St. Patrick's Day being the celebration of, conversion from Irish, indigenous spirituality to the Catholic and Protestant ways, right? So we will always have an anti-St. Patrick's party. We're doing extra witchy things to spite the church on St. Patrick's Day. So I kind of carried on that tradition at the shop this year, of having an Irish witchcraft herbalism class on St. Patrick's Day, where we talked about all the things that my grandmother taught me, and things you can grow in your own garden quite easily, and really popular Irish witchcraft herbs for healing that are easy to find here on the West Coast. And that was a great class. It sold out instantly as soon as I listed it. There was a lot of interest. So I'm definitely planning to pull more herbalism classes in. I think in the fall we'll do one that is more from the I'm Irish Mexican, and both sides are very steeped in,
Oh, wow. Yeah, the
folk
curanderas.
medicine.
Oh,
Exactly. Yes,
oh,
yes,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. So I'm thinking that in fall we'll have to lean more into that direction, especially as we lead up to like Dia de Muertos and so on, having teas and plants for healing that touch on sort of that darker half of the year, and supporting for like seasonal depression, supporting for trans veil communication, right? As you
Ooh,
get sort of there to the since that's Halloween, it's All Saints Day, it's Dia de Muertos, that's the time that people want to communicate with spirits. So we start to look at things like cacao ceremony, we start to look at things like mugwort meditation and astral projection, lucid dreaming, that kind of thing. So I think that we'll pull some
man.
Mexican folk magic and herbalism into the fall class, the fall witchcraft class.
When I lived
Yeah.
in Mexico, that's how I learned how to drink arnica tea. From going
Mm-hmm.
through a dental, they had to do all my wisdom teeth and all this stuff when I lived out there.
Mm-hmm.
And the dentist was like, drink pineapple juice
Arnica.
because it's an
Ah,
antibiotic, a natural
yeah.
antibiotic, and it's so you don't swell as much. And then arnica tea. And I didn't
Mm-hmm.
understand this, but now I do. And it was like
Mm-hmm.
you didn't have to take as many over-the-counter things if you did
Yeah.
arnica. It like really helped calm and yeah, I didn't know anything. And
Mm-hmm.
now like I was looking for someone and I was like, oh, I need to go to a Mexican shop for arnica.
Yes.
See,
Yes.
it's and then that's how we learned about datura. Now, Linda, you live in
Mm.
Arizona, and the curanderos, we had one on our show way back, maybe 15 years ago. Wrote an amazing Mexican folklore book of recipes and healing modalities, and that's where we learned about the datura plant. Now, everyone be
Mm.
careful because it's Jimson weed and you can get high as a kite and you could die.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But we lived outside Joshua Tree National Park at the time, and Nancy, my mom, was out in the garden, pulled her back, was on like basically stuck in the garden. And I was out, came back home, and she's out there. She's crawling, crawling on your hands and knees through the desert garden is not fun because we do have cactus. And somehow she's like, no, I read it in that book. Put the datura blossoms or the leaves, I think it was the leaves, in the bathtub. She got in the bathtub. I did make her a tea toddy. It had a little bit of bourbon in there. She was happy about
Mm-hmm.
that. She went in that bathtub, and I swear to God, she stood up and walked out and was completely fine. Like
Mm-hmm.
it was like a miracle. Just like the
Yeah,
datura miracle. But do not drink
plants are
it.
fantastic. No. No, thank you. I'm so glad
And
you
it
said that.
was
There's like
do not do that. So it's important, and that's the thing about your classes, I think really important is that people
Mhm.
actually understand, because if it's like me going off playing with mushrooms in the woods, no, I'm not going to harvest them and eat them because you could die, you could get high, or you could just have a really good nutritious meal. Um, I just don't want to die. I don't mind the other two, but I just don't want
Right.
you
And they
know.
can disguise themselves. There's plants and fungi that look like ones that are good for you, but they're really not. I mean, when we start to look at dangerous plants, gosh, we've got yarrow, which is basically an
Oh yeah, yeah.
all-purpose healing herb that looks alarmingly like water hemlock.
Yep.
But
And
then
Queen's
also,
Anne
so
lace.
does Queen Anne's lace is in that family.
Mhm.
Yeah, the big white umbels and the feathery leaves. It's very dangerous. So when I am teaching these classes, I absolutely teach about sustainable harvesting practices, like practices that actually help the plant, when you harvest them. So responsible pruning, as well as identification. And like, I'm very alarmist with my students. I'm like, no, you need to understand how dangerous this is. If you
Mm,
screw it up, like we're not playing. This is,
mm.
we want you to be empowered to go and find all these things and all that, but I don't want you to die. I
Mm.
need you to
I want to
understand that's a
ask you this,
possibility.
knowing all of this, and I know, Linda, it seems
Mm.
like you had a bit of a spiritual experience making your chai, blending. We got to use that word blend a lot. We love it. Um, our family history goes into witchcraft, and we have witches burned at the stake, and my
Mm.
genealogy it's quite fascinating. But some of it's Hungarian, and I always have this dream of this old
Mm.
Hungarian woman who made teas and tinctures and had to hide them
Mm.
within pots when the people came up. I don't
Mhm.
know what's going on, but like I've seen psychics on it. I've tried to do all kinds of meditation. I know this,
Mhm.
Linda, this got a little wonky, didn't it, for you? I know she's looking at me like, what the hell? But I've done a lot of this, and so it just seems to me that I know there's a lot of male shaman healers, but
Mm,
what do you think the role of women in the world of tea? Because you talk a lot about witches, and there's male
ah,
witches too. We've got warlocks in
yeah,
our history too. They were burned at the stake for talking to animals, not making tea, but this other woman, I think,
sure.
had like a tea thing going. So I'm just curious on the role of women in the world of tea. Is the farming, then there's, gathering, and then there's the
Mhm.
actual blending, making, all of that.
Sure, it's complicated, especially if you look at the contemporary world of tea. It's very complicated because tea is like the food industry, right? This is kind of, I think, true across specialty food and beverage. I was a chef for 15 years, and I saw a lot of this in the restaurant world, just as I do in the tea world, where there's this misogynistic double standard that is still so prevalent and so obnoxious where there's this idea that a woman's place is in the kitchen, a woman's place is in the field, a woman's place is, whatever, until you get to leadership roles. And then, oh, this is a man's world. Oh, what do women know? And that is still a thing. It's been a thing for hundreds and hundreds
Mm.
of years, and it still is a frustration to this day. Like, for example, I have a really decent like TikTok following, right? We're very active on social media. And anytime I post a video that is about tea science, about botany, about blending, about the tea industry, something that I am an expert in my field. I've been doing this for decades. Inevitably, there is someone in my comments section tagging in a man who has just joined the tea industry recently and saying, "Oh, is she right about this? Can you confirm this?" Asking a man with less experience and knowledge to check my work. This happens constantly. And when I was in restaurants, it was, oh, yeah, we hire women, women belong in the kitchen. That's fine, until a promotion became available. And then it was always a man with less experience. And that is true working internationally. We do all of our own imports here. I work directly with farms. The farmers themselves are fantastic. I know very few woman-owned farms. They're mostly working in the field. The farmers I speak with are primarily men. And while they do speak to me very respectfully, we've got great working relationship, I always need to bring up, talk to me about the role of women in your company. Talk to me about, are all of the women on the field doing just the brute labor, and none of them are in management positions? None of them are, this and that. So we've really started to look more toward woman-owned farms, which there is a big social movement happening in the specialty tea world. We're starting to see, particularly in North India, a lot of entirely woman-owned and operated farms, which is
Yeah.
especially exciting in that part of the world because North India historically is one of the top 5 regions for human trafficking, especially of young women into the tea industry, being abducted, on the street from their homes, whatever, and sold into, farm slavery. So to see specifically women owned and empowered and, farms is huge. And we're starting to see more conversations around that. So I am starting to see really positive trends for women in tea. Here in America, I do think that our attitude is a little bit behind. Like I said, there's a lot of, oh, cute, your cute little tea shop, right? I get a lot of that. Oh, how cute, your little tea shop over there. Oh, your cute little business. Or men will say to me, "Oh, well, good luck with your, little business over here." It's so condescending and horrible. And then, I see men in my industry that are just beginning, and everyone's, "Oh, this man is an expert." Oh, I'm like, he's just a guy. That's really what it is. So we still see that a lot where women-owned tea companies are thought of as like twee and cute and are very dismissed. Oh, your cute little tea shop. Oh, it's probably a hobby that your husband pays for, is still
It's
a
a
very
tax
dominant
write-off
attitude.
hobby. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's still an attitude that we see in America a lot.
Mm.
And it's so wild to me. And I just, I've been doing this for 20 years. And anymore, I start to hear someone saying something like that, and I just stop listening. I just walk away. I'm like, no.
Mm.
There are a
Well,
lot of wonderful people in the industry, and I'd rather spend my time and energy with them.
well, Linda, you're going to, Friday afternoon, going to the shop itself. Do you kind of feel that vibe of a strong woman, even as the virtual, you can tell, but I mean, going in the shop, do you kind of have that vibe when you go in?
Yeah, it's a real interesting place to go because the vibe is a little bit different than maybe of course the afternoon tea shops and stuff. This is a place where you go and you're welcome to create, to relax, to interact. It feels good, and there's so many wonderful things to look at and ask about. And can you just come in off the street and say, I'd like to blend, this is what I would like to come out with, or is that too much?
We typically only have one person behind the counter at a time because
Right,
our shop is so small. So
right.
it's a by appointment thing. People can absolutely set up an appointment to blend, and to have either us do as much of it as they like, or they can play and blend themselves. But that's under the like custom blending, and you need to
Got
make
it.
an appointment either with myself
Yeah.
or with my right hand man, Greg, who is our manager at the store day to day. Yeah.
I think there are so many wonderful blends that are pre-done, that packages that you can take out, that you probably don't need to do that. And learning how to do it, I think, is more important than anything else. I mean, your classes are just real informative and interactive. That's what I like, of course. And you have so much in your head, as I've said before, that I mean, and almost any question that I asked at the class was answered in a very nice, comfortable way. Like I said, well, if I go to a coffee shop and they also offer chai, what is that chai going to be? What is a typical blend? And I think that's important to know, because then I didn't know that a chai could be any blend you like that speaks to your soul. I mean, how fun is that?
But that,
That's
that's
sort of
huge.
what, yeah,
That's
that's what you
huge to
feel
me.
when you go in here. Other people were, even when we were taking the class, there's a couple seats left next to us, and somebody had brought in the child, and they were coloring, and the mom was just relaxing, and it was just a wonderful place to go. And of course, I think if you get the Wallingford vibe where they're sort of located, that's sort of cool as well. So yeah, this is a very nice place to visit,
Sounds like
and
fun.
it's fun. It's
Yeah.
relaxing. It's comfortable. It's comforting. Um,
Mm.
I
But
don't know.
I
I
think
can spend a lot of
when you're
money
talking
in
about
there.
coloring and creating, and Linda, I think that is so important. And you're an educator, and that's the creativity factor is so crucial. As we are fed so much on our phones, on social media and games, where are we in that world of, are we going to lose our creativity? With AI happening, I think these kinds of experiences are so crucial, that AI can't touch your tea.
True.
You know
Very
what I
true.
mean? They may copy your voice. I mean, right now we're looking at all kinds of weird things like Photoshop now taking
Hmm.
over your photography, saying if you're going to be on
Hmm.
Photoshop, we're going to use your photography as AI training, which is like, I have to just stop on that because I want to say a whole bunch of like wonderful, nasty words about it.
Oh,
But
yes.
when it comes to tea, there's wonderful things with AI, but these non AI helped it. There's a lot of creative stuff that goes with it. But these experiences, I think, are crucial. And for, people to just have some fun and get out there and be able to still be family friendly, like what you're doing. uh, I could see like a mom-daughter thing, wouldn't you say, Linda, for something like this? Like a nice bonding
I would
experience.
love to, yeah, I'm hoping my daughter will be here in the fall to go to the Northwest Tea Festival. I had so much fun
Oh.
there, and she loves tea as much as I do. She is an earthy person though, so
Mm.
the type of tea she drinks is not the type of tea that I like. But I like any. Give me a fruit and I'm good. She is
Hmm.
earthy, just these real earthy things. And
I know exactly what you're
Does
talking
she
about.
like
That face
you know
tells
what
me
I'm talking
everything.
about?
She likes
Yeah,
mushrooms then. She
loves them. She just thinks they're
Oh
quite
yeah, she could go
wonderful.
out with me then and go out hunting mushrooms, and then we'll look at him and go, "You touch it, not me." Just like, we'll just watch and see what happens to you. No, but this is awesome. The immediate thing on this conversation that got me was when you said chai is tea. And I grew up in Kenya when I was a very young girl, and we lived right off of coffee and tea plantations
Yeah.
in a neighborhood called Karen, which is what was owned by Karen Blixen.
Mm.
And I was really young, and so there's a lot of bribery that goes on in these countries, right? And so whenever to get through things, they would say, your bribe, and it's called chai money. And so everybody Nancy would say chai money. And that's basically, here's your $10, $15, whatever.
Mhm.
Mexico, it goes way up higher, and they don't
Mhm.
call it chai money. It's Christmas money. But
Yeah.
she would say it was like $5, whatever it was. It was chai money. So when we got to this country and people were talking about chai, and I was getting into all these Indian spices and stuff, but I kind of like, that's kind of what we drank. It's kind of like a normal drink to me. And then when we lived in
Yeah.
South Africa, we had rooibos. That was normal.
Mhm.
That was just like a normal, usual day for me. But everybody here is like, oh no, chai always has the cinnamon, the cloves. It must be all these things. And I kept talking to Nancy. I'm going, Mom, like, when they were asking for the money, were they wanting cloves, cinnamon? Like, was it a specific tea? She goes, no, it's tea. But I'm like, but that's not what they're calling it here. So you just solved like a whole
Mm.
thing that's been going on
I'm
as
glad.
this long-term discussion of what chai money is, because it doesn't, people argue with Nancy all the time, and they shouldn't, because she's apparently always right.
It just means tea. It's like
She
cha in
won.
Chinese and Japanese. It's the same. It's the same word. There's a whole chart I saw on the etymology of the word tea, and there's a cute little mnemonic for it where it's either cha. I think it's tea if by land, cha if by sea. So depending on how the plant and the beverage and the culture transitioned from its point of origin to other parts. So like I think maybe it is chai is by land because there's the Silk Road there, and so the method that tea traveled uh, informs the spread of the language itself. So with cha being tea in China and Japan and Taiwan, and then chai in India, all part of the Silk Road, right? Whereas then tea, te in French, right? Te also in Spanish, but spelled different. We're looking more at sea travel, ships heading from the south of India through around the Cape and up to like Portugal and Italy and things like that. So it's interesting how language can evolve. Language and food are my two big things. So like the etymology of culinary language is something very interesting to me. And so yeah, I think that's really interesting how chai cha, that is tea. It just
See,
means
chai has
tea.
always been a bribe. That's how because it's tea money. They just
That's
wanted to be
so
able to
funny.
they just wanted to be able to buy their tea. That was all what it was
Yeah.
about. So everyone's always arguing with Nancy, which again, like I said, they shouldn't. And Linda knows that. Never argue with Nancy.
I love that. I think
No.
it's the equivalent of like, milk money here, right? Yeah, your milk money.
Okay.
It's just
Okay.
like
So chai.
a little pocket money, right? It's a little
Okay.
pocket money that you could, yeah, your milk money. Here in America,
Yeah.
that's kind of an antiquated term now, but could just mean just a little pocket cash that you
Well, the
carry
chai
around.
money was going to the cops, because they would always like
Sure.
you would have to give them a ride if they needed a ride. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Whatever they
yeah.
wanted and needed, and
Yeah.
so they didn't really do donuts over there. They did chai.
Chai.
So that's
Oh yeah,
it.
Kenya tea culture is big time.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And the way, I mean, I think Americans would freak out. Like, Nancy had a magazine in South Africa, and we'd have chai time or tea time. And
Yeah.
so we had our we had all different cultures working for us. And,
Mhm.
over there, they would pour their tea onto their saucer to cool it off and pour it back in. And
I
then
love
they would
that. That's so
slurp. I
practical.
mean, this was how they drank. And like the British white people would get, oh no. And this is
No
how it
doubt.
was, but they would pour it, cool it, and then slurp it. It was not just
Hmm.
sip. It was this full on we're slurping and we're making all the
Good.
food sounds nobody wants. And this is
Good.
how we're drinking it. And
It
so
tastes better.
it does, because you're
It does. It's
inhaling
like
using
wine.
your
You're
nose.
aerating it. It genuinely tastes better the louder you drink it. It's exact. And I always tell my students this, you want to slurp it when people come in for their tasting classes in the shop, like Linda, like the terroir class that we did for China. They come in the shop and I always say, don't be embarrassed. I want to hear you drinking this. You are here to learn about the flavor notes of different regions. Let me hear you slurp it, because then you have to get that aromatic,
See,
cycling going on it. You need
Linda,
to taste it with your nose too.
the wine industry needs to change to slurping.
Oh, they do in tasting rooms. That's
Mhm.
absolutely how it's
Some of it,
done.
sure, absolutely. Depends on the person. Oh yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Hey,
Oh,
slurp,
yes.
slurp and spit, but whatever.
Mhm.
that goes.
Yes, absolutely. There's a reason that's done in wine tasting rooms, and it makes sense. And it translates to tea, it translates to coffee, it translates to chocolate. Like, all of these things are so tied together. I think people don't realize that, if you know about wine and you know how to appreciate wine, you already know how to appreciate tea. Those
Mhm.
skills are transferable. I grew up in wine country in California, in Calaveras County. There, my
Oh,
parents
yeah.
are both from Lodi, which grows most of the wine grapes in the country, and so wine culture huge. Everyone I grew up around was either part of a vineyard family or was dear friends and neighbors of a vineyard family. So still, I go back home and my dad takes me around to all of his friends' tasting rooms and all of that, and that's what we do. But yeah, it's amazing how directly translatable wine appreciation is to tea, to coffee, to chocolate. So Linda, when you're
Yeah.
saying that you are a tea, wine, chocolate person, she's like, yes,
She's got, well, that's
yes.
why her website is allingoodtaste.info.
Mm-hmm.
See,
Mm-hmm.
that's it.
Yep.
Well, Linda, which came first for you, wine, chocolate, or tea?
Chocolate.
Oh,
Chocolate from a very young age, from a very, very young age. A lot of the other kids would like things like Skittles or something like that,
Mm,
like a sugar burst flavor. But I always like the chocolate stuff, and it's very much like a wine journey. You start out with
mhm.
Hershey's, and you end
Yes.
up with something from Sweden. You know, Swiss.
Mm.
Gosh, the Swiss chocolate is just
Yeah,
exciting.
Switzerland. Yeah,
That goes
absolutely.
with, and lately I've been doing tea and chocolate tastings,
Mm-hmm.
and those are
Mm-hmm.
exquisite. Really, you get the right combination. I mean, some of them I went, well, not maybe not so much, but you get the right chocolate and tea, and they are. You should do a class in them because it's
I was
just
about to tell you we're doing one, Linda.
right.
I was waiting for a polite pause, but we're actually about to start doing a series of tasting workshops where we'll send you out a box if you're remote, and it'll have, chocolate from Switzerland, from Colombia, from Singapore. Oh, Singapore chocolate is my everything. And then
what?
teas that are optimally designed to pair. And we'll talk about why certain flavors, textures, and aromas pair the way that they
Ah,
do. So you'll be able to kind of cross try things and see, why does this work, but then when you try it with this other one, it doesn't as much. So
Yeah.
you know how much I love to illustrate. I love to tell you the chemistry and then let you experience it for yourself, so you have something tangible to apply that to. So we are about to start doing tasting kits as
yeah,
well,
I just think
in the
that's
shop and
really,
online.
yeah. I don't think a lot of people understand that
Mm,
tea pairings are really
mm,
fun.
mhm,
There's tea with food and all that sort of stuff. And
mhm,
chocolate happens to be my favorite, but anyway, so
mhm.
chocolate first, then
Yes.
food, the food journey, and that's very specific to where you were brought up, incidentally, and then wine, and that's the same thing. When I used to uh, be the director of a wine region and bring media in, if I knew if they came from the East Coast, I better be giving them very lean types of wines. If they're from the West Coast, more jammy, more a
Oh yeah.
larger fruit forward sort of thing. And food's the same thing. I mean, it depends on a lot of where you were brought up and how you were brought up. Did you have a lot of fruit? That's why I like food so much. We had so much fruit in my house. And but some people didn't have fruit at all, right? So when you become, I mean, if you want to do wine tasting and become certified and stuff, first thing they say in the first class is go to a farmer's market, smell everything you can, and try to put that up in your brain. Find a place to put it up in your brain. So when we say this has a green pepper thread to it, you can go, okay, you know, I might not eat it at home, but I've smelled it and it's quite wonderful and so forth. And tea is actually the same thing now, especially since I did the chai class. Very interesting that you can incorporate. I was expecting to go to the class and you were going to say, here are the 4 ingredients that make a chai blend. I hope you like it. That's what I was thinking I was going to. I had no idea. Just like chocolate or food, there are so many variations that you can do and love. Take my daughter and I again, give me fruit every time, and hers is much more woodsy, and the only tea my husband can seem to really like is Earl Grey, and I can't stand Earl Grey. So
sure,
just a journey, right? It's just your journey. So yeah, so I don't know why tea is so important to me. I mean, it should be wine, but I like the whole tea culture. I think
it's calming.
Yes,
it's a good ritual to have. It's a good healthy ritual for sure.
And it's flexible.
Yes,
especially since I took this chai class. Very flexible. So I'm going to have, I think this summer I am going to try chai at various places to see how they do it and why they do it. I might even ask, how did you get this blend? I don't think I've been to like coffee places or tea places where they have choose one of 5, right? It's this is our blend, and have a nice day. That's what I thought chai was all about, but it's so exciting. It's not that at all. But I want to see what other shops can do.
Yes. And I think that the most exciting thing about these classes to me, and what I hope that you took away, Linda, it seems like you did, is that curiosity, is a sense of curiosity and exploration. And I really wanted to send every student home with the ability to look at their own spice cupboard and say, ooh, I have this fennel here, you know, I want to crush that up and throw it in with my chai and see what that does. I want to play with this. Ooh, I think these things would go well together. I want everyone to go out there in the world after my classes with this sense of playful curiosity and a willingness to experiment, try things out, because there are so many correct ways to do tea. There's one wrong way to do tea, and that is if you don't like it. If you're not happy with the way it came out, that was wrong for you personally in that moment.
Yeah.
But that's it. There's every other way is correct. If you like it, you're doing it right. And that opens up every possible door. It can be anything you want it to be. And that's really the beauty of it, you know?
And if you don't like it, feed it to your blueberries.
There you go. Feed it to your blueberries.
And your plants. Blueberries.
Exactly.
Well, I don't know. The black cat blend that you recommended and that I purchased, what does that have in it? That has all my favorite things.
That is a Wu Yi 50-year-old plant grown charcoal roasted oolong tea, right? Fancy oolong. And then it has the vanilla extract on it. It has pomegranate seeds and lemon peel, and that's it.
Perfect for me. Just absolutely. I mean, I'm working my way through my own blend, but I've been eyeing that and thinking.
And it's summer. As this country goes through a heat wave, maybe not where you guys are right now. I'm thinking iced tea is a nice, healthy refreshment. Yeah, and get things. Yeah, that is awesome. This is exciting. Now I'm going to be starting looking at things differently.
Yay.
But at least now I can go around and say, hey, I'm going to start sending invoices out for our marketing clients going chai
money.
Send us our chai money.
I
We're
love
not
it.
bribing anyone, but but listen, thank you so much for joining us Friday. It's been a real pleasure having you on the show. Again, everyone, Linda's articles and her past article about the virtual class and interview, and the current one about actually going to the class, those are both linked in the episode notes, as is Linda's website, which is allingoodtaste.info, and Friday's website, which is fridaytea.com. And what's the best thing to do on a Friday afternoon? Have some tea, have an
That's the
experiment, so
stuff.
that that's a good way to start off a nice calm weekend. That's but
Mhm.
it's for every day, right, Friday?
Yes, indeed. Every day.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute delight.
And thank you, Linda, for always bringing in everybody with good taste.
I love interesting people, and anybody that has good taste can come on my show anytime they like.
All right, thanks everyone, take care, and happy tea time. Thank you for listening to Big Blend Radio with travel writer Linda Kissam. Keep up with Linda at allingoodtaste.info. You can read her articles in Big Blend magazines and keep up with us at bigblendradio.com.